All right, how's everybody doing today?
Great.
That was kind of weak. I said, how's everybody doing today? We good?
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm excited. I know I got to follow Herman Moore, and then I know we got lunch and all those other good things. But I'm excited. How many people are excited about AI?
What?
Artificial intelligence.
I just see it.
So whether you like it or not, it's here to stay. Elon Musk cannot pause it. So we're going to have a good conversation, and we're going to get involved. A little bit about me. I run RebrandX. I run something called Modern Athlete. RebrandX. I do a series of things. I did play sports in college, and there's one thing that stopped me from going to the league. Does anybody know what that is? Talent. I did not have enough talent to get to the league. Herman had talent. I didn't have talent. So that was not a trick question. That was not a trick question. Okay, all good. All right, so I've been married for 20 years, so it'll be 20 years this year. My daughter's 13, she's going to high school. So this is why I do the work that I do. I want to be able to share that. And so now we're going to jump right into it. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to scan this QR code because we're going to do a quick little poll, and I want to get some feedback from you in terms of what AI is. We want to make this interactive. We want to ask some questions, but I want to get your feedback. So you can scan that code. If you have, how many people in here have a smartphone? All right, that should be everybody in the room. All right, everybody in the room. So if you have a flip phone, then you might not be able to participate, but it's all good. All right, this is a technology session, so it's all about technology. Does everybody have it? Everybody have the code? Okay, all right, okay, so now we're gonna flip to, it's starting to ask you some questions, so we're gonna escape here. We're gonna go over here to Chrome, and we're gonna look. So the first question that I'm asking, I'm giving you three options about what is AI. Is it a remix of the internet? Is it an extension of human creativity? I'm asking, is it stolen information? Because some people are like, AI they're just stealing from everybody. They're stealing all these great and amazing ideas. So I want to get a quick post in terms of how everybody feels. We've had about 13 people answer. Maybe everybody else is like, I'm not answering that question at all. This is anonymous. Nobody's going to know what side of the fence you're on, okay? All right, so the feedback that we got is a remix of the internet. People said it's an extension of human creativity, and so nobody said that it was stolen information. Okay, so that's good. Now I want to ask another question. So the next question that we're going to ask is, what does AI mean to you? So I just want you just to type a word in. I'm trying to get a feel or a pulse of how you feel about AI. There's a lot of people that feel a lot of different ways, and I don't want to trigger you to answer it a certain way. So I'm gonna let you type some things in so we can start to see what the room feels like as it relates back to AI. Good. What? Oh, it's not populating? All right. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna do this old school where we're gonna do a 1.0. So you gotta be able to flow when stuff doesn't work right, and I cannot blame the tech guy. What typically happens when people are on the mic, they always blame the tech person. Me and him went through everything, so that is not on you. So when you think of AI, what does AI mean to you? And that's not a rhetorical question. I'm looking for some feedback, interaction. What do you think of, okay, all right, all the way here in the back. Technology and forward thinking. Anybody else?
It's a way to innovate my life, day.
It's a way to innovate my life and my day every day. What? That's exactly what AI stands for. Yes. Let's give him a hand real quick on that one right there. Okay, that's a good answer. That's a good answer right there. Okay, next, over here. Increased efficiency. Okay, all right. So I just want to get a quick pulse of how people feel about AI. So I'm going to say this. AI, to me, is a remix. It's a remix of everything. I don't believe that there's anything new in the earth. I know people believe that they're the most original people on the planet. Everything that's designed, I don't care what business you're in, I don't even care what clothes you wear, it's built on top of something that already exists, right? So when you think about AI, it is a remix of knowledge, human knowledge, information, images, activity. I believe that it's the new algorithm that's disrupting creativity and the future of work. So when you think about AI, I want you to think about, what is it remixing? What is it pulling from that already exists, right? And so it's pulling from the internet, it's pulling from books. You probably heard a lot of different terms like LLMs, large language models, or foundational or frontier models, right? There's all of these things that we're hearing in terms of when we think about this term called AI. And the reality is that, is there anybody in the room that's fearful or scared of AI? Okay, why?
It's like wants you about it.
Everybody warns me about it. Okay. I would say it's about technology. Every technology has a dark side to it. Social media has a dark side. There's a dark side to everything. So I'm not saying that it is a technology that doesn't warrant concern. There's a lack of transparency. There's ethical things. Go ahead.
But trying to
See, she's trying to do my presentation right now, but it's all good. No, but that's a good point, though. That's a good point. So now the technology is going to outpace regulation at this point, right? And so lots of things, and we're even hearing stuff online about it's going to be the end of humanity. They've already come up with that saying that humanity is going to end based on AI. So there can absolutely be a lot of concern and a lot of things from that particular standpoint. So as we begin to look at AI, I want to kind of just walk you down this path and kind of just open your eyes to maybe some of the use cases and a variety of ways that we can use it. So if we look at how fast this thing got adopted, so I have a chart here that compares it to getting to 100 million users on TikTok and with ChatGPT. With ChatGPT, it got there in 2 months. With TikTok, it took 9 months. And so you can see it's the fastest adopted technology in human history. So I made this cool graphic, and I made myself look really like I was a technologist, right? I wanted to show you how fast it got to 1 million users, right? ChatGPT got there in 5 days. Instagram, 2.5 months. So you can see how fast this technology got adopted. And so when you start to think about how fast it's getting adopted, sometimes we feel like we're behind. Only about 2% of the globe is using a platform called ChatGPT. It's not the only AI platform, but it's a good barometer to be able to say you're still early. Sometimes we feel like we're late, but I want you to know that you're still early to the party, right? So what does this look like moving forward in terms of how I can grow and develop my business and change things around? The beautiful part about technology, and I love this quote, it's from Steve Jobs. He said, great technology is invisible, right? And so how do you leverage these different ways or emerging technology to be able to grow and to be able to scale the business or the idea that you have, right? There are some thought leaders out there who believe that we'll be able to create what we call unicorn businesses. These are billion-dollar businesses with 3 people. Now, are we talking about eliminating human capital or people? No. But what we're saying is that the ability to be able to be more efficient with your business is going to allow you to be able to automate and to do more with less. How many people want to be able to do more with less? Okay, all right. So we all kind of cleared that up. So as we start to do it, let's look at a timeline of great inventions. Now, I wasn't born when some of these inventions happened. So when the wheel came out, I was not on the earth then, right? But the wheel transformed society in terms of being able to move stuff from point A to point B. Then we had the printing press. So now the ability to be able to scale knowledge was accelerated. I graduated from high school in 1989. And that's when the worldwide internet became the worldwide internet. Now, we know that the government was using it, but these are transformational events that happen in our society. If we look at AI, it's no different. AI is about 70 years old. It's about 70 years old. But if we kind of go back to the launch or the release of ChatGPT, which is November 30th, 2022, that's when it got put in the hands of regular, everyday people. And so now there's this conversation about how it's going to be able to change everything. And so as we start to get into this conversation, what I want to do is I want to show you the way we learn as human beings. I love hoops, so you're going to see Kobe and you're going to see MJ real quick. Anybody know who Kobe and MJ are? Okay, all right, cool. All right, so we'll just show this real quick. This is how we learn as human beings.
They're just a standard that's above.
electronically, switch the uniforms, and without that at full speed, you would not have been able to sell.
You might not be able to hear it, but what you're going to see is the student learn from the master. So we learn from those who come before us. So when you learn something in business, or you go and you learn something in Instagram or LinkedIn, do you always attribute credit to the source that you learned it from? Probably not. If you went to the DIA and you got inspired about some design, do you go and then go make a contribution to the DIA because they inspired you? What typically happens is that doesn't always happen. Now, the interesting part is that there is a difference when we now start to get into if this is a commercial enterprise, right? Because these large language models are learning or absorbing information from stuff that exists. How do you feel about it if it learned from a book that you wrote? How do you feel about it if it was a song or a picture that you took that it learned from? And so that's the caveat that we have right now. But the machines are learning the same way we're learning. And so we can get upset at the machine, but it's learning the same way we do. And I know people don't always attribute credit to something else, and it's not that we're bad people. And I know I'm not talking about anybody in this room. It's everybody else, but it's not you. You might have learned from something that you saw, but, right, so this is what happens in reality. But now we're going to have to deal with the copyright, the ownership, all of these other things. But as this stuff is happening, here's what I'll say. The legislation is not up to speed as it relates back to what's happening in commerce, right? And so it's kind of the wild, wild west as we're figuring this stuff out. So now I want to show you how many different platforms are there. There's all kind of tools, and I know you probably can't read this, but there are generative AI tools. And so when I say generative AI, does anybody know what that means? Okay, so generative AI, basically what it is that you have a platform, whether it is ChatGPT, where you'll put a prompt or you'll put an instruction in, and it'll create something that has never before existed. What I always like to say, it is a bar that you spit to the machine to create content or something that is brand new, right? So you'll type something in, you will put an image in or a video or something, it'll create something brand new. You can create songs, and we'll get into some of these examples in terms of how you can do it. When you start to think about AI, I want you to think about it from this particular standpoint. There was one of the foremost thought leaders as it relates back to disruptive innovation is Christian Claytonson. Clayton Christensen. He passed away a couple years ago, but he was a professor at Harvard University. How many people have ever had a McDonald's milkshake before? I know it's a few people. Y'all probably don't want to raise your hand. It's all good. I know the machines don't always work, but all right. And if you are a McDonald's owner, I'm not talking about your franchise at all, right? So they wanted to study why milkshakes were selling, right? So he was going in and he was doing the research and watching the buying patterns of when people were actually buying the milkshakes. In design thinking, we always talk about getting out of the office, getting out of the cubicle, and actually talking to people. That's really important. Lots of times we come up with ideas and we've never talked to a customer, and then we wonder why the stuff doesn't work, right? So he began to talk to the customer, then he realized the milkshakes were selling early in the morning. But he was trying to figure out, why were these milkshakes selling in the morning? The reason they were selling, as he began to talk to customers, is that people had a drive from point A to point B. It might have been about 20 to 25 minutes. And they needed something to occupy them while they were on this journey to work or to wherever they were going. They needed something that wasn't messy, they could hold in one hand. How many people have ever been driving down the street or on the freeway and you see people in there doing too much in the car? Eating, putting on makeup, or doing whatever they're doing, on calls, hands all over the place, right? That happens. But I know it's not anybody here. That's other people that are driving. All we do, we are hands-free with our actual devices, right? Okay. So what they found is that the milkshake had a job to be done. And the job to be done was to occupy that driver, to get them safe to their destination, and for them to be able to use it with one hand. Why do I bring this up? When you start talking about AI, there are specific jobs or tasks that need to be done. And so when you're thinking about the tasks that you want to have this particular platform deploy to be able to help your business, it could be idea generation. It could be marketing, creating posts. It could be customizing donor letters. How many people need to raise more money for the idea that they have? right? So you have to create content to be able to interact with the people who have the funds, right? And so there's a variety of things. So you have to think about what is the job to be done that's going to help to automate and help your business to be able to scale in terms of the value. And we like to call this an intelligent collaboration. It's a collaboration between human and machine, right? And so when you have the ability to be able to leverage the machine, it allows you to be able to accelerate. I'm old enough, how many people are old enough to remember typewriters, right? So I know y'all are all young in here, but I remember having a typewriter, right? So it's different. These tools, they accelerate our ability to be able to get stuff done. And so AI is no different, right? And so you have to figure out, what does that look like? Some people feel if the human isn't doing what the human has always done, that they're not a part of the process. But think about, technology has always been an extension of human intelligence. So it should always be able to accelerate and allow you to be able to do more in a more efficient and a more effective way. So when we look at it, I want you to look at it from that particular standpoint. Also, think about your ability as an individual to be able to communicate your story. As you're doing the work, I believe that there is a premium on excellence. So that means that the human is not being eliminated, but people who are, so if you're average, if you're basic and you're replaceable, you should be scared. Not of the machine, just of life anyway, because you're going to be replaced. The machine's just going to make it faster, right? But at the end of the day, now, what is the part that the machine cannot dream? So there's the part that the machine absolutely cannot do that you can do as the human capital, because you're giving it the instruction. You're the one who is directing it. So how do you find a way? How many people have a part of their business or their job that they don't like to do? Let's be honest. Everybody has a part that you don't like to do. Wouldn't it be amazing if you could deploy that to the machine to do that stuff? So when you look at it, it's not like it's taking something away from me. The stuff I don't want to do, I absolutely want the machine to do. So figure out what those tasks look like. Some people can't write, and that's not an indictment. You can use ChatGPT to do correct grammar, and it can make you sound like you are a literary savant, right? And so again, understand it's a tool, and it takes on the nature of a holder. And so when you understand that it's a tool, it allows you to be able to accelerate the things that you're doing, right? And so again, I want to give you some examples. How many people in here cannot draw? Like you couldn't, like if your life was on the line, you couldn't draw at all. You don't know how to use the software, you don't know how to move the pixels or anything like that. With generative AI, you can put a simple prompt in, and what it can do, it can help you to create. So I created this right here. This right here is an orchard. It looked like a cloth, and the prompt we put in was orchard cloths, and it created that. You know how long it would take me to create that? Or this prompt to create something that shows shoes running through water as an actual painting. I'm sharing this because they're different tools. Midjourney, there's Bing, Image Create. There's a variety of different tools that you can use to be able to create images that would have taken you a lot of time or cost you a lot of money to be able to do, right? I want to show you a video. This was done by generative AI. The skin, if we're a little bit closer, you can see the skin looks real, right? The prompt that he used to do that was this. They put that prompt in and it created that video. Why am I sharing this with you? This is the worst that technology will ever be. This is the worst that technology will ever be. That means that the technology is going to accelerate, it's going to get better, it's going to get faster, and your ability to be able to use the technology to grow the ideas that you have is going to be quick. We're doing a project with AT&T, and we're working with some students, and they want to create a song. So we used Canva, we created some layouts and stuff, but I want y'all to listen to the song. You probably have to listen really tightly, but I want you to listen to the song that we created with AI.
Hanukkah. Oh, nobody, it's a surface deep within. I refuse to be confined by society's norms, break my own soul. They say I'm so Slide on to the body. And me in a big outside.
Okay. So now, I used to be in the youth choir back in the day. Okay. But I really can't sing. What we did, we put a prompt in there. We programmed to say what type of voice that we wanted. And the song was pretty good. And it didn't take us that long. Now, am I saying that we don't need artists? I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to take anybody's job. What I am saying is that, say for instance, if you have to create a campaign and you need a song or you need some kind of music generated, you could use a tool like this. I just wanted just to open up the aperture so you could be able to see all the things and the opportunities that are actually out there. As we're kind of moving towards the end, using AI can help you to be able to create content or wording that's optimized. So here's the post from Charity Water. And so instead of having, you are invited to help us solve this problem, they came up with something, you need to help, we need you to help us bring safe water to people. So it helped them to be able to create better content. You can create custom GPTs, which is almost like building a team. I'm not gonna get into the depth of that, but you can actually build a team of agents that can help you, that can operate as consultant inside of OpenAI. We don't have enough time to go into that today, but I want to just lob some things out there for you. We want to save time for a couple questions, but I want to just show you some things that can allow you to be able to build a team out, to be able to build or create content, and you can do that in an incredible way. You also have to think about the downside of it. So again, the Cancer Society used it, and their donor percentages went up, I think, about 400%. There was another one for the National Eating Disorder Association. How many people during the pandemic found out that when we were at home by ourselves, we were eating more? So maybe that was just you, but I know I ate more at my house. We were looking at pictures of ourselves. I was like, we had a good time during the pandemic, even though all the restaurants were closed. So now they were getting more calls. They were overburdened with calls, so then they had this chatbot. And based on how the chatbot was trained on the data, it started giving some bad information, and they had to turn the chatbot off. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because you need to think about, you can't just deploy this stuff and just expect it to just do its thing on its own. I have a book coming out called AI in the Remix third quarter. But I wanted to say, I don't know if I have time for a question or two before we close out.
We have time for one. He said one.
Okay. All right, some questions. Okay, go ahead.
That's like thing that he did. That's a great point.
So now this stuff is a moving target, right? So now it wasn't trained. So this is not a clone of Jay-Z's voice. This is not like Drake's voice. It's just, so we're not having somebody come back at us because it's a song that it was trained on in terms of an artist that makes some money from a commercial standpoint. But again, this stuff is a moving target. So what I say today might be different a month from now. It might be different 5 months from now. The other part about generative AI stuff is that even in books, if more than 50% of it is created by a machine, then there are copyright issues that you might have. So again, I don't know enough about where the copyright laws and all those things, the trademark laws are today and where they'll be at like tomorrow, and whether you would own it or not, but you'll be able to create something amazing and informational.